The consequences of living distracted. Let's talk about it right here on Revive the Culture's Morning Motivation. Hey, God bless you guys. I hope you're having a great day so far. Welcome to the Morning Motivation. I was thinking about this as we've entered into 2025 and 2024. I don't know about you, but for us, it was a very difficult year. At the turn of 2023, on New Year's Eve, going into 2024, my brother had a stroke, and it kind of just set the tone for the whole year. I was telling our congregation here at the church, man, if 2024 was a guy, I'd punch him dead in the face because it was a difficult year. It was a very trying year, but God's still good in the midst of those things. And I really learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about priorities and really shifting the right things and seeing that the call of God on my life and my family are a priority. And I remember I was sitting there one day and I was thinking, I have to change some things. I have to make sure that my children know and my wife know that they're priority over everyone else. And so I put out a Facebook post and I let everybody know I won't be answering the phone for personal calls or messages or texts after 4 p.m. That's the time I'm going to be with my family. If I'm not with my family, then I'm working on something for my family or something that the Lord's called me to do. But I will no longer waste time in meaningless conversations. Because I was thinking one time, I was sitting with my children and I got a phone call and I left from playing with my children to talk on the phone for an hour and a half for someone. And it was a very fruitless conversation. It didn't really mean much. It wasn't worth anything. It didn't really produce anything. And so I gave away an hour and a half of the time that I was supposed to be with my children for nothing. And 2024 really helped me to see that. It really helped me to see that my priorities need to be set in order and I need to be even more intentional because I've been personally living distracted. And I don't want to live distracted anymore. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there today, maybe you don't understand just how distracted you have been living, or maybe you recognize it, but you kind of don't know how to get over that hurdle. And I'm telling you, it's going to take discipline and intentionality. And this isn't something that I don't see us ever perfecting because we can get into that place of distraction. We have to pull ourselves out. And so I wrote this on my board to challenge myself. I can see it right here. It's right in front of me. It says, fight distraction, change your future. Because distraction, what it does is it slows us down from forward movement and progression in our life to do the things that actually matter the most for the people that are depending on us. And so just like you, I don't want to live distracted. I don't want to let this thing right here dictate what I'm going to do with my life or how long I'm going to, be with my family. I'm not going to do that anymore. I don't have to get up and answer what everybody wants me to do whenever they want me to do it. I'm not living like that anymore. And it's not like I have a hard heart towards people. I'm a pastor, so my life is people and helping people, but my family comes first. And that's my first ministry. And that's something that 2024 really taught me, is the importance of prioritizing the people who matter the most and making sure that they know how loved they are and how valued they are and how treasured they are, and that God has entrusted me to steward my family well. And I can't do that if I live distracted. I can't do that if I'm a slave to social media or I'm wasting time on my phone, precious time that I'll never get back. And so I wrote down some things for us to kind of look at and talk about today, because sometimes when we live distracted, whether it's with our phone, right, or on social media, we're really not thinking about the consequences of those things. But I was looking at some statistics online and they were saying how the mental health of our children is being affected by our cell phone usage on a constant basis, that they're feeling like they're not loved, they're feeling like they're not valued, they're feeling like they're not worth their parents' time because all we're doing is scrolling, looking at other people's lives instead of investing that time in them. Our children matter. They're the next generation. And if there's anywhere in the world where they need to feel peace, they need to feel love, they need to feel valued, it's in the home. And we can't do that if we're so busy paying attention to everybody else's lives other than the lives that God has entrusted us with to lead in the right direction, which is our children. And I was also looking at how many people actually spend more time on their phone than with their spouse, talking with their spouse, communicating with their spouse, spending time with them that's valuable. Instead, they're spending that time on the phone. No wonder divorce rates are so high. It's because people aren't investing in real relationships. Everything is like ran through technology. It's become superficial. Everybody has this comparison viewpoint when it comes to life, because we're trying to compare to people that we idolize or that we think are important on the social networks that we watch, or on YouTube, or whatever those things are. And here's what I want to tell you for 2025: fight distraction, change your future. Like, you don't understand what you can build, what you can do when you get undistracted and you actually use this God-given gift of time that he's given us to do something great with your life, especially for your family and considering them. And I'm looking through these statistics that I pulled up, and I'm just like, man, this is so crazy. I'm reading I was reading from Psychology Today. It says how cell phone usage interferes with healthy parenting. And it was talking about how kids, they feel like they're second to the phone. Like, I'm just condensing the article down because I don't want to read the whole thing. But they're basically saying that kids feel like they're second to their parents' phone. And even if they're in a two-parent household, they still feel like they're second to their parents' phone. And I started thinking about that. And you know what? I got grieved about that, because I'm like, Lord, I've done that to my kids. I've done that to my family. I've done that to my spouse. I was so distracted by being on social media, or talking to somebody, or counseling with somebody, or, answering the phone for fruitless conversations, that I was ignoring my own family. I wasn't spending that time like I needed to. It wasn't like I totally ignore them. I'm always on my phone. I'm always distracted. But there was a lot of time where I could have put that down and been present and in the room. And I'm sure you have experienced that too. And this is the trick of carrying our phone and not being a slave to it. And so I've made that decision in 2025 that when I get home, I'm putting my phone away, because I don't care about anything in the world or what's going on as much as I care about who's in my home, and that they know that they're loved and that they're treasured. And so I was thinking about this, and I wrote a few notes about the consequences of our distractions. And I think sometimes we don't consider that, because when we're living distracted, we're not thinking that this is having such a negative impact on the people that we love who are depending on us, because we're so distracted. We're not paying attention to their emotional needs. We're not paying attention to them feeling like they're depraved of the love that they need from us. We don't think about that because we're so distracted by whatever we're giving ourselves over to. And so some of the consequences for distractions are this. One of the biggest consequences we face is this. Number one, you ready? Wasted time. Time is so precious. And once it's gone, you'll never get it back. And there's no dollar amount that you can bring that can pay for you to have more extended time, especially with the people that you love. And so one of the consequences of us living distracted is wasting the precious time that we have with the people that we love. Like, if you were to say, hey, Jesse, I'll give you this dollar amount, or you could spend 5 minutes talking with your mother and your father who have went to be with Jesus. I would choose to talk with my mother or my father. That time is so precious to me. Right? I wouldn't take the money. I'd rather have that time again with them. They've been gone for years now, and I would love to hear their voice again. I would love to be able to spend that time with them. But we don't understand just how precious that time was. And guess what? When my parents were here, when I was in my immaturity and I was running the streets and I was being stupid, you know how many times my mom would call my phone and I would just send it to voicemail? I wouldn't even pay attention, or my dad would give me a call and I wouldn't even pay attention to the phone call. You know how many times I ignored them because my friends were more important, what I was doing was more important. And now if I could go back and I could get that time back, I would, because they were always more valuable than these friends, so-called friends in my life who don't even know my kids, who aren't even a part of my life now. So there was no value in that. I was just distracted. I was distracted by my own wants, my selfish desires, and all of those things. You wish you could get that time back when it's gone. And here's what I want to tell you today. Instead, do what the Bible says. Redeem the time, because the days are evil. And here's one of the ways that you can redeem the time with your family right now. Put your phone away. Spend time with the people that you love, and spend time investing in them and asking them, hey, what do you want to do? And spend precious time, especially with your children. Number 2, are you ready? Our family, spouse, children feeling neglected and unimportant. This is what happens when we live distracted and we don't press in and we don't make sure that we're present for them. Number 3, when we waste our time by being distracted, we waste, ready, our potential. You never know what you can do until you actually go all in to do it. There's so many people that I know who are great at so many things, but they're so distracted by the things of this life. I've seen some of the smartest people I've ever known in my life, and I always called them smart dummies. Some of the smartest people I ever known in my life, instead of chasing after their potential, they instead chased after addiction. And it's one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life, because some of those people who were my guys from back in the day, they landed in prison. But they were some of the smartest guys. I mean, you could ask them something just off the top of their head. They can just tell you. They were just so intelligent. But instead of going after their potential, seeing what they were worth, what they could establish in the earth, knowing, what they could build or how they could help others, instead they went after the wrong things. They got sold a lie and a deception, and it actually cost them in the end. And now they can't do anything about it. Unfortunately, even some of the people that I've known have lost their life. So remember, don't waste your potential by living distracted. We only have 24 hours in a day. I love what Miles Monroe said. He said that, God doesn't make rich people. God doesn't make poor people. God makes people. And people make decisions on the life that they're going to live and the things that they go after. And most of the time, people with a poverty mentality who are stuck in poverty, they have the wrong perspective when it comes to time and how they use it, because they're looking more at leisure moments and avoiding pain moments, instead of pressing in for the now and sacrificing to live a better life later on, right? It's like Dave Ramsey always says, if you want to live like no one else, you have to live like no one else right now, right? You have to invest right now. I wrote this note. I want to share it with you. It says, when we waste today, right? So when we live distracted today, when we waste today, we set ourselves up for failure in our tomorrows. And that's so true. Here's how I know that that's true. That's how I lived for years. I lived distracted. I was chasing after my own vain desires and pleasure, and I was going after pleasure more than investing and educating myself and coming up and realizing that I can actually do something great with my life. I'm instead trying to, hit a quick lick and get rich scheme kind of mentality, right? A poverty mentality, instead of understanding that investing in myself, learning and growing and becoming who God has called me to be was actually going to be an intentional process full of discipline that was going to lead me into a brighter future, not just for myself, but also for my family. So you have to remember that this is a fight. And you're going to have to fight if you want to win against distraction. You're going to have to be intentional about it, because you stand to lose more than you think you do when you live distracted. It's a heavier cost that you have to pay on the back end, and you don't want to have to do that. When you can right now make a decision and set some things in order where you're like, man, I'm going to get undistracted. I'm not going to live here anymore, and I'm going to start moving forward. And when I start moving forward, then I can see the blessing in my family and my life and what God's called me to, because I'm not over here where I'm not supposed to be, or spending time over here where I'm not supposed to be spending time. I'm right where I need to be, right in the will of God, doing the things that I need to do. Proverbs 13:4 says this. It says, the soul of a lazy man desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich. See, if we're diligent about our pursuits, we can understand, right, our potential. And that potential is a driving force for us, that we can see that there's a vision ahead of us. There's something greater that we can obtain. There's something greater that we can work towards. There's not just today. Today may be a sacrifice. It may be hard. We might have to fight through distraction. We might have to live a little bit more disciplined and intentional. And at first, when you start that process, it is not comfortable. It's disrupting everything that you've allowed to be a comfort in your life. But you understand that there's something greater ahead, so I can't stop. I got to keep moving forward because I don't want to be distracted. And this is what Proverbs tells us, that if we have a diligent pursuit, it says, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich, meaning I won't stop. I'll be intentional about the pursuit of the things that I need to do in order to establish a better future, not just for myself, but for my family. What God calls us to is always something greater than just us. It's building for the next generation and building something great and establishing something in the earth that actually serves others and helps others. Proverbs 21:5 says this, the plans of the diligent lead surely to plenty, but those of everyone who is hasty surely to poverty. So we can't be hasty about our decisions. And usually when you live distracted, here's how you live. You live unprepared. You're not prepared for the things that are coming. You're not prepared for storms. You're not prepared for financial storms. So when things get shaky in your life, it's like, there goes your diligence. There goes your discipline. There goes your integrity. There goes your, everything out the window, because you're not prepared to face what's ahead of you. And I think sometimes in the process, we don't understand, like, this is what's so important. I hope you get this out of everything that I've said. If you get what you pray for, but you're not equipped to handle it, you'll lose it. If you get what you ask God for, but you're not becoming the person who can steward that blessing, you'll squander it. See, the best pursuit that we can have is working on us to build us up to be who we're supposed to be, because who we're supposed to be benefits others around us. A lot of the times we're just asking God, give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that. We live loosely. We live with no intentionality. We're distracted by everything else in life. We're not looking at the Word of God, processing, chewing on the Word of God. We're not living by a standard that calls us higher. We're looking for comfort and convenience. We're living distracted and expecting something great out of our life. And I want to tell you today, if you live that way, because I have, you'll never get there. You'll never get there. Life is not a game, and we can't waste our time and expect great results. And this is what distraction does. There's a deception inside of it. I've talked to so many people who have had that poverty mentality, and here's how they think. This might sound crazy to you, but I'm being real with you. This is how people think. They think, I can squander what I have today. It's going to be all right. Somebody's going to show up and do something for me. They have a taker's mentality. They live with their hand out. They're expecting, if they pray, God's just supposed to deposit money to them because they believe in God, or that their family's going to show up and rescue them. And they're not thinking about the intentionality that they have to have for the next generation to show them a greater example of what they can do. Listen, if you live your life intentionally as a failure and you're a parent, you show your kids how to fail. You don't show them how to succeed. And so we have to be intentional to not waste our time and live distracted. We have to get into the fight and say, you know what? If I got to fight today to get out of distraction, I'm going to do it, because my fight today causes my family to have a better tomorrow. This is how we have to live. And thinking about that, it makes me think about James chapter 4. James says that if you know the good to do and you don't do it, it becomes sin to you. And so often do we know the right thing to do. We even kind of want to do that right thing, but instead we get distracted. Instead of getting up and exercising, we put the TV on. Instead of going on that diet, you justify you're going to eat the wrong things, and you say, I'll start Monday. Guess what? I'm start Monday guy. I've been that guy so many times. I don't want to be that guy anymore. I want to be intentional. Don't start Monday, start today. If you know what to do that's good to do it today, or it becomes sin to you. Don't allow yourself to continue to justify excuses and live distracted. Get out of that mentality, because God has called you to something greater. Here's the thing. If nobody else tells you this, let me tell you this. You can do it. You can, but you have to make that decision. Like, here's the thing. Somebody can preach you up and try to encourage you until they're blue in the face. But if you don't make that decision to change, it doesn't matter that you heard anything that they said. Because here's the thing, you have to say enough is enough. I'm not going to live like this anymore. I'm going to move forward. To me, here's where I'm at in my life, and just being vulnerable, just being honest. I can't look at my family in their face and say, oh, me barely doing enough for you is enough. I can't do that. I got to do everything that I can to show them that dreams are possible. The calling of God on our life matters. And if we're diligent and intentional about moving forward, God will entrust us with great things. God will lead us into places that we never dreamed, we never imagined. I can't just look at them and sit on the couch and say, oh, this is good enough for you guys. No, the time that I spend with them, and the rest of the time I'm going to spend building to leave a legacy. And to show them what's possible in this life when we put God first and we follow the direction He's leading us to, and we're intentional about the work that we do. Listen, you can leave a great legacy. We don't have to leave a broken legacy for our kids. Our kids don't have to feel like they're not good enough, they're not valuable enough, they're not worth our time. We can put our phones down. We can be intentional about the life that we're going to build, the legacy we're going to leave. And guess what? All of that starts today. So I just want to encourage you guys today, man. This is the morning motivation. I hope you get motivated to be better in 2025 than you ever have been. And it first starts with a decision for you to change the things that you know you need to change. And if there's things that you feel like, I don't know exactly what it is, pray about it. Ask God, reveal these things to me. Help me so that I can put the wrong things down and pick up the right things that are actually going to help me in 2025 to be better for the family that you've blessed me with. So, hey, man, I hope you guys have a great morning. I hope you guys get up and get out there and make it happen. Eliminate distraction. Every day you might have to fight. But as you begin to fight against distractions, you're going to develop disciplines. And in those disciplines, you're going to see rewards and you're going to see your goals met, because instead of being distracted, you're living intentional to build something greater. God bless you guys, man. I hope you have a great day.